They thought I was their ATM. Then I won $8.7 million and learned the most valuable lesson of all: the best family is the one you choose, not the one you're born into. My $8.7 million secret to freedom. The scent of cheap coffee and gasoline is forever etched in my memory. It was a Tuesday evening in March, a mundane stop on my way home from a job that paid the bills but drained my soul. The Powerball jackpot, a ridiculous $200 million, glowed from a sign I usually ignored. But that day, exhausted by a lifetime of being the responsible one, I bought a ticket. A small act of rebellion against my own practicality. 3 days later, sitting in my 7-year-old Toyota in the office parking lot, my world split in two. The numbers on my phone screen matched the ones on the crumpled ticket in my hand. Not just a few. All of them. After the shock came the cold, hard math: approximately $8.7 million after taxes and the lump sum payment. For 45 minutes, I didn't move. I just watched my hands shake in my lap. And then, the most terrifying instinct surfaced: I wanted to call my mother. My thumb hovered over her contact photo, a picture of her smiling, an expression I now realized was usually reserved for when I just agreed to another of her requests. It was a reflex bred over 29 years, this need to share a milestone with my family. But in that suspended moment, I played the tape forward with brutal clarity. I saw it all: the initial, breathless excitement. Then, the pause. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. Then, the carefully modulated tone. "Honey, this is a miracle. Emma was just saying how the stress of her debt is affecting her health. And your father, his back has been so bad, if he could just retire. This is a blessing from God for this entire family. My miracle would be instantly co-opted into their entitlement. My windfall would become their rightful inheritance. So, I didn't call. I took a deep, shuddering breath and put the phone away. My first act as a multimillionaire was an act of silence. It was the most powerful thing I had ever done. The observation period: a scientist in a den of wolves. My lawyer, Patricia, a woman with the sharp eyes of someone who had seen fortunes destroy families, gave me a mandate: tell no one for 6 months. Observe. You need to see how people treat you when money is not a factor. And so I became an anthropologist in my own life. I continued living in my modest apartment, driving my old car, and working my job. But internally, I was a vault, and my family were the subjects of a devastating study. At my mother's birthday dinner in April, she cornered me by the chocolate fountain. "Honey," she began, her voice dripping with faux concern. "Emma's landlord is raising her rent again. That girl is just so unlucky. It would mean so much if you could bridge the gap this month. Just until she finds her feet." I handed over $200 and watched the transaction complete. The concern vanished from her eyes, replaced by satisfaction. The interaction was over. In May, Emma got engaged. At her engagement party, funded by my parents, she floated over to me, champagne flute in hand. "Sis," she giggled, as if we were the closest of friends. "The wedding planner says we can have the dream venue if we put down a deposit now. You're so good with money, can you spot me $5,000? We'll pay you back, of course." The lie was so effortless it was chilling. When I didn't immediately agree, her smile tightened. Whatever, we'll talk later, she said, spinning away to more agreeable company. Thanksgiving was the masterpiece of their manipulation. The air was thick with the smell of roast turkey and unspoken demands. My mother raised her glass for a toast. To family, she declared, her eyes locking onto mine. The one constant in life. The people you sacrifice for, because their happiness is your happiness. Emma, not to be outdone, added, I can't wait to buy a house someday. If only I had a fairy godmother for the down payment. The table erupted in knowing laughter. I smiled, I chewed my food, and I felt a piece of my heart turn to stone. The breaking point, the lie that set me free. The phone call on a cold January morning was a performance worthy of an award. My mother's voice was a fragile thread. Honey, it's cancer. Stage 3. She painted a vivid picture: surgery, aggressive treatments, insurance loopholes. She needed $30,000. She was dying, and I was her only hope. The old me would have crumbled. The new me felt a cold suspicion. The amount was too round, too convenient. The diagnosis was delivered before the details. I need to call you back, Mom, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I then did the unthinkable. I called her doctor's office. Posing as a concerned daughter, I said my mother had just informed me of a cancer diagnosis and I was confused about the next steps. The receptionist, after putting me on hold, returned with a voice full of gentle confusion. I'm sorry, but your mother was here for a routine checkup 2 weeks ago. Her results were clear. There's no diagnosis, no surgery scheduled. I sat in the silence of my apartment for 3 hours. The betrayal wasn't a sharp sting, it was a deep, cold freeze that spread through my veins. She hadn't just asked for money, she had weaponized my love and fear, using the specter of her own death as a tool. This was the final, irrefutable proof. When I called her back, I was calm. I spoke with Dr. Evans' office, Mom. I know there is no cancer. The silence was deafening. Then came the sputtering, the tears, the backtracking, a misunderstanding, worry about future bills. How dare I violate her privacy? When my father got on the line, his anger was directed at me for making things difficult, for not just helping. The script was flawless. I was the villain for uncovering the lie. I hung up. The ATM was closed for good. The reckoning, the truth as a weapon. The subsequent family meeting was staged like an execution, with me as the intended victim. I walked into my childhood home to find them arrayed on the furniture like a tribunal. Your sister needs your help, and you're tearing this family apart with your selfishness, my mother began, her face a mask of wounded righteousness. Emma played her part, weeping softly into a tissue. I just want to start my life, you've always been so jealous of me. My father appealed to his family duty, speaking of sacrifices I owed them for the roof they put over my head, the basic requirements of parenthood framed as a lifelong debt. I let them talk until they exhausted their script. Then, I asked my question into the silence. How much money have I given this family? No one answered. $63,000, I said, the number hanging in the air. And what have you ever given me? Not money. Love? Support? Have any of you ever asked if I was okay? My mother, cornered, played her final card. If you won't be a proper sister, if you won't help this family, then maybe you aren't our daughter at all. A profound calm settled over me. The last chain broke. I smiled, a genuine, free smile. Fine, I said. If that's the price of admission to this family, then I'm not your daughter. The room erupted. But their voices were just noise now. And in the eye of that hurricane, I spoke the 7 words that would become my Declaration of Independence. I won the lottery. $8.7 million. The silence was instantaneous and absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. Then, the dam of greed burst. Emma's face transformed from rage to avarice in a heartbeat. Oh my God. This is amazing, she squealed, literally clapping her hands. So the down payment is no problem. And the wedding. And maybe a new car. This is fate. My mother's cancer was miraculously cured. A blessing. We can finally get the lake house. Your father can retire. This is what family is for. I let them spiral. I let them paint their perfect, gilded future with my money. I let them reveal the absolute core of who they were. And then I passed my final judgment. I have watched you for 10 months, I said, my voice quiet but cutting through their euphoria. I saw the fake cancer. I saw the endless demands. I have seen a lifetime of being used. And you have proven, beyond any doubt, that you deserve nothing. Not one single dollar of it. The money is mine, and you will never touch it. The volcanic rage that followed was predictable. I was called every name imaginable. I was cursed, I was threatened. I walked out of that house for the last time, their screams echoing behind me, feeling not anger, not sadness, but an immense, soaring relief. My freedom, my terms. The aftermath was messy. The flying monkeys, aunts, cousins, were deployed. My mother staged scenes at my apartment. But I was done. With Patricia's help, I got a restraining order, changed my number, and moved to a new city. But here is the most important part of the story, what I did with my freedom. The money became a tool for good, for the family I chose to create. I established an anonymous scholarship fund named the Perseverance Grant for students working multiple jobs to put themselves through school, just as I had. I worked with a nonprofit to anonymously pay off the medical debt for over 50 families drowning in bills from genuine illnesses, erasing the shadow of a fear my mother had so callously faked. I helped a shelter for survivors of domestic violence expand their facilities, providing safety for those escaping toxic environments. I ensured a single mother in my new neighborhood could afford a security deposit on a safe apartment, telling her it was a community grant. I used the money to create the kind of support I had never received, given freely, without expectation, to people who appreciated it as a hand-up, not an entitlement. A year has passed. The guilt sometimes whispers in the dark, a ghost of the daughter they programmed me to be. But then I remember the fake cancer. I remember the $200,000 demand for a house. I remember a lifetime of being valued for my utility, not my soul. And the guilt fades, replaced by a profound and unshakable peace. The $8.7 million didn't buy my happiness. It provided the means, but my happiness was purchased with a far more valuable currency, The courage to finally walk away and build a life where I am loved for who I am, not for what I can provide.